Red Dwarf fans got very excited last year when it was revealed that UKTV had commissioned a brand new 90-minute special of Red Dwarf, to be written by Doug Naylor. Unfortunately, they've just cancelled it. So we'll be talking all of that, Doug Naylor's statement, the reasons, and what that episode would have been about in this video. Welcome to Culture Filter, I'm Phil, and this is where I talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like, including things like Doctor Who, Star Trek, and Red Dwarf. Now, if you've been a long time subscriber of this channel, you know that I used to do a Red Dwarf podcast with my friend Adam Martin of AMTV, and that kind of tailed off about 2 years ago. We have episodes we've recorded that that I haven't got around to editing. One day I will get around to editing those, but finding the time is proving difficult. But I do like to talk about Red Dwarf, and when there is news, I will still talk about it. So, let's talk about it. Unfortunately, it's sad news and not good news. Red Dwarf co-creator, this is on the Radio Times website as of yesterday, says that, Red Dwarf co-creator reveals fate and plot details of his planned 90-minute special. The background on this is that in January 2024, Doug Naylor went to a meeting with UKTV where they told him they wanted another 90-minute special of Red Dwarf. They had commissioned one just pre-pandemic, and it came out, I think, just at the start of the pandemic in 2020, or maybe just before, I can't remember. It came out in 2020. That was The Promised Land. That was the last episode of Red Dwarf we got 5 years ago. And it had been a long gap before that since the last full series. But we were excited. We were going to be getting another one. So the story wasn't ended. The cast was apparently on board, the script was being written, there was a writing contract in place for Doug Naylor, but now UKTV has decided to pull out. In a statement, Doug has said that he was about 2/3 of the way through writing the script when he got the news. And the reason is that UKTV is simply pulling back from scripted comedy full stop. They do not want to commission any scripted comedy anymore. And as the home of Red Dwarf for, the past 15 odd years, that probably does not bode well for the future of the property full stop. A spokesman for UKTV told Radio Times in a statement, UKTV has no current plans to commission further episodes of Red Dwarf. It has been a privilege to work with Doug Naylor and the cast in a relationship that began with the Back on Earth specials, which premiered to 4 million viewers and has subsequently produced 3 full series, a retrospective, and Doctor Who, Red Dwarf's first ever feature-length film, The Promised Land. Ultimately, this probably comes down to money. Scripted entertainment is expensive. Scripted drama, scripted comedy, it's all very expensive to make, and the TV industry in the UK isn't in the healthiest place at the moment. Costs have risen dramatically in the last few years, and that will have played a big factor in them deciding that they cannot afford this. Also, it sounded like quite an expensive episode anyway, from what we know about it. In terms of the plot, what Doug Naylor has said is that it would have involved Craig Charles' character Lister going back in time to help his 23-year-old self escape from stasis, while Chris Barry's Rimmer also goes back in time and teams up with his younger self to hunt them down on behalf of JMC. That's the mining corporation that they worked for before the ship had its disaster and they were left alone on the ship 3 million years after being in stasis for 3 million years. So the story would have had to involve quite a lot of digital de-aging, which is quite an expensive process for quite a small channel to fund. UKTV, it's one of the mainstay of British channels that started on satellite back in the 90s, but it's not a huge channel and it doesn't have a massive wealth of finances to fund this sort of thing. And clearly, with the economic conditions and the state of the UK TV industry and the rising of costs, that has become past the point of becoming completely prohibitive for them to make this. Even Craig Charles, in a statement a few months ago, had said that he didn't know how they were going to afford it, because he said, while praising the script and saying it sounds amazing, he did ask, but can we afford it? That's the big thing. I, for one, am extremely disappointed. I know the cast are all getting quite older now. This is a TV show that started in the 80s and has maintained most of the same cast throughout. There's 3 characters in it that have been there from the beginning. They've added, Crichton got added at one point. They've added and taken away others throughout its run, but the core cast has been there since kind of the 80s, really. And it's a real, they're not getting any younger. If they were going to do a new one, it would probably have to be now. So this kind of feels like it is the end for that particular iteration of Red Dwarf. Now, it's an intellectual property. Who knows who might bring it back in the future? There were also talks when all the legal situation around Red Dwarf got resolved between the original 2 writers. There was some disputes, which we can go into in another video if we want to, but they've resolved that, and there was talk about, each of them doing their own projects with the property, and Doug Naylor was going to go do this. There was talk about a potential animated series as well, so maybe that's something that might still go ahead. There was talk about a kind of prequel series with a much younger Lister. That might still go ahead. I don't know who was potentially funding that. I don't know if that was going to be a UKTV thing. I would expect that to also not happen now, but maybe that's going somewhere else. And who knows, maybe Doug Naylor will ship this around, and maybe he'll be able to get another broadcaster or a streamer to fund it. I wouldn't hold out much hope for that, but it's not completely impossible. It has been a while since I've done Red Dwarf content on this channel. Like I said, I used to have the Everybody's Dead Dave podcast with Adam Martin, which I will get back to editing those episodes, which we recorded 2 years ago at some point. So, put your support in the comments below for that. But also let me know what other kind of videos you'd like to see. That's a podcast, but what videos would you like to see about Red Dwarf? Would you like some lore videos about Red Dwarf? Or some video essays about Red Dwarf? Or, what kind of content could I do that you'd be interested in about Red Dwarf, other than news when it comes up like this video? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you soon. I will link to the playlist for the Everybody's Dead Dave podcast on the end screen here. Do check it out.